What's up, guys? Balance changes are live. I don't know if you guys know, but there was a maintenance break, and then right after, they actually implemented the balance changes before the season ended, which is really interesting. And in today's video, I'm going to be testing out 3 giant decks that are going to be a lot better, because if you guys didn't know, the giant got a buff, 4% hit points buff, and there's lots of cards that got buffed that synergize well in giant, because if you look here, you can see giant 4% hit points, mini P.E.K.K.A got a buffed, and there's some giant mini P.E.K.K.A buffs, and then that's not all. You also see the hunter, which could be used in giant, and then you also, if you keep scrolling, you got the prince and the dark prince, and there's obviously giant double prince. So today, what I'm going to be testing out are 3 different giant variations here on ladder. You can see giant graveyard, which is already pretty popular before the giant got buffed, and it of course has the buffed musketeer in it too. And then you got the dark prince, which can jump over the bridge. And then you got this one here, just your standard giant double prince deck. And then here you got this cycle variation. You guys might remember this deck, giant mini P.E.K.K.A cycle, 2.9 average elixir. So I'm excited because if you guys didn't know, I used to play a lot of giant, but as it got kind of weaker, I didn't make as many videos on it. But I'm thinking giant might be back now. We're going to be seeing it a lot in the meta. So let's get in the first game. Not insanely high up, dropped a little bit, but still a good amount of the season left. So yeah, let's try to work our way back up. We'll start with giant double prince. All right, guys, so we found our first game here against Goku. So I'm going to be excited testing out these new, balances over the next few days, because there's going to be so many different decks I could obviously play. I mean, obviously you have not just these giant decks, but also, for example, testing out the balloon, some decks with hunter, and then seeing if like royal hogs are still good are going to be really interesting. So let me know what you guys think about the balances. It kind of, in a way, kind of came out of nowhere. Like, I don't think anyone expected these bounces to be before the season ended. So yeah, let me know what your guys' overall thoughts on them are. I think it's, kind of interesting to say the least. I think, it's going to shake up the meta, especially the fact that, I don't think the queen got a big nerf, but it did get like a small nerf, like speed nerf. Golden Knight got a pretty big nerf though. But yeah, the meta is definitely going to change up in my opinion, because the musketeer buff, let me remind you guys, that actually means 3 musketeers are getting a buff too, and I feel like they could be more viable now. And then you also, the mini P.E.K.K.A buff, hog mini P.E.K.K.A, giant mini P.E.K.K.A. I just think we're in for a huge amount of giant now. Like, I can tell you that for a fact. Giant is just going to be everywhere, and you see it right now. This guy running giant, I mean giant graveyard, which is of course what I'm going to test later in the video. So far this game is going all right, I guess. Kind of an interesting start. I mean, you see we both kind of tower traded because he went super aggressive and then couldn't defend my counter push. And then on the other hand, he wasn't able to, defend because I could just zap his Skarmy. But the graveyard, I don't have a lot of answers for, so it's a little bit annoying. But the fact that I do have zap for the Skarmy is, very, very nice, because otherwise, if I didn't have a good spell for it, it of course would get a lot of value. So I don't know, this might just be another, tower trade situation, because my guess is he's going to take this tower. There's not much I could do about that, but then the counter push is going to be, I would say, really difficult for him to stop. He's probably going to try to just Skarmy this giant here, but I got another one available that I could use afterwards. We could probably fireball the musketeer and the skeleton army, and then from there, see what he wants to do. We'll miner the musketeer, and then I guess go for a giant in the pocket here should be pretty nice. He's going to go for a defensive giant, and then a defensive graveyard. I don't know if that was a great play. I guess he kind of did it out of, like, desperation, but I don't know why he didn't just go for a mini P.E.K.K.A on the giant. I felt like that would have been a little better, but we'll just go for a fireball here, and we have a lot of stuff down. We still don't have his tower yet, though, and he catches that, so that's not good either. He's probably going to try to go giant here in the pocket. We need it if we can get back to another fireball. I don't know if we're going to get it down in time. We need to zap this. Arrows don't do enough. We do get the fireball down just in time. That was a really, really close game. 71 HP on my tower. You can see emotions coming out of him. A little bit of crying emotes. But yeah, wow, that was quite a crazy first game. I'll tell you guys what. Let's actually, because he was using it, let's switch to Giant Graveyard now. So you can see Giant Double Prince. Not a whole lot of usage of the princes at the bridge, I will admit that. All right, so here we go. We're going to test out the, this Giant Graveyard deck here that has the Musketeer in it, which first attack is faster. So Giant Graveyard now is going to be stronger. Definitely, better in certain situations than it was before. And we'll try this game to go for a Dark Prince, at the bridge. It's just, I feel like it's very situational. I feel like the princes now are definitely not broken. Do I think they're a little better? Yes. Even though they got a hit points nerf, I still think they're a little better just because you're going to get good use out of them if your opponent has a building and maybe goes for a high Tesla or a mortar. But I will say certain matchups, you're probably not going to get as much value out of them as you would like to. And that's just because you know, it's not going to change some things. You know, if you're against, say, like an air deck, for example, or if they just simply don't have a building, I feel like it won't help you out very much. But maybe if someone goes for like a high musketeer, and if they're not careful, you know, and they don't remember the interaction, you could just go for a high, you know, a high prince or dark prince and then take it out. But yeah, it probably really depends. So I decided a graveyard here, and we're going to get a good amount of damage. The reason why I went this aggressive is because I had a feeling he didn't have many graveyard answers, and I knew worst case scenario, we would get some good damage, force some elixir out of him. And this guy's going to be using the balloon. So as you guys know, the balloon kind of got an interesting, I guess you could say, you know, nerf. At least a lot of people consider it a nerf. It's kind of, I guess, a little bit like controversial if it's like a huge nerf or not, but some people think it's a buff in some matchups if you don't have a building, because now it doesn't take out a building in one shot. Like, even the cannon survives, which is really interesting, and the goblin cage too, I'm pretty sure. But with that being said, I do think it's a nerf overall, just because there's so many times where that balloon, like with a sliver of health, you know, gets a shot, and now that's not going to happen anymore. So that's what I think. I think it's certainly a small nerf to the balloon. Not like a large nerf, but it's definitely going to change things up with it for sure. So we'll just go ahead and snowball that. Maybe I'll just go for, like, what do I want to do here? I might just let that, just get the bowler get damage, because I'd rather not, like, overcommit. We're going to block the bridge here, though. I'm glad I did that in time. So minions are going to be good here. He is going to... Actually, let's just arrow that and then snowball the lumberjack. Maybe I didn't need to snowball the lumberjack. That was kind of bad, but I guess that's alright. So you can barbell that. We need to go for Skarmy here. And then I'm probably just going to go Giant Graveyard as soon as I'm able to, because even if he predicts with an Inferno Drag, we should still get some solid damage, because the Giant's going to be tanking for it at least a little while, and at the very least, it's going to force a ton of Elixir out of him. Yeah, like, I mean, look at that. He had a Tornado too. I guess I'm going to Musketeer here, because I feel like I need to get something sturdy down to defend that, and he's actually going to go Balloon in the same lane. That's really interesting, because he already dealt so much damage in the other lane, and he's going to freeze almost everything. But the balloon will not take the tower. There's no way. It gets kind of close. You can see the hit speed of it is insanely fast. But at this point, I kind of just need to go for a Giant Graveyard. In fact, I might even just Graveyard, because this is going to apply pressure. Now he won't be able to go for a balloon. And then we'll also go Snowball here. If I can just get a little bit of damage, we could probably just Arrow to finish off the tower. And yeah, there we go. That's exactly what's going to happen. You can see... he was unable to defend the Graveyard Push. He didn't have many Graveyard Answers. At the same time, though, it got a little scary when defending those balloons. So now let's head into this Giant Cycle deck. This might be one of my favorite decks of all time. Alright, so here we go. 2.9 Giant Cycle. I have to say, out of these three decks, this is the one I'm the least confident that will actually be good again, just because I feel like there's a lot of things that will counter this. I mean, I feel like a lot of the matchups you have to outplay to win, sort of. But, I mean, we'll see. I mean, Giant got buffed and Mini P.E.K.K.A, so I'm not saying it's impossible, but maybe some substitutions, other ones would have to be made, like potentially Musketeer for the Magic Archer, or even Hunter, now that Hunter's kind of back to normal, but I don't know. We'll have to see. So, yeah, 3 Musketeers are a lot better now. Musketeer got buffed, so obviously 3 Musketeers are... probably going to be back. 1 second deploy time, and yeah, I have a feeling 3M are going to be great now, so we gotta watch out for those. Maybe I'll make some videos on the new buffed 3M in the next couple days, because obviously Musketeer I already, you know, used in the Giant deck, but 3M, it's going to be interesting. Okay, this is really annoying, the Royal Hogs, and they got healed up too. That's like a ton of damage, and now he's just going to Ice Golem. Nothing I can really do about that, but because he just used his Heal Spirit, I'm going to go Minor Bats, because I know he doesn't have Ice Golem or Heal Spirit in cycle right now, so I'm hoping he has to, yeah, as you can see, he has to overcommit, and I still get a ton of damage. So that was really smart there, kind of like keeping track of the cycle, which is really important to do with this deck, because it's a fast cycle giant deck. It's not one like Giant Double Prince or Giant Graveyard where you can like, you know, willy-nilly go like Giant Graveyard at the bridge whenever you feel like it, or just simply, you know, like just giant and play 2 princes behind it. You have to be really careful what you're cycling and kind of keeping track of your opponent's cycle too, because, you know, it's kind of it's an interesting giant variation, I guess that's the best way to put it. I'm going to apply some pressure here because if he goes 3M, it's actually good for me because he plays it before double when he can't, you know, support it as much. Because 3M and single elixir are a lot easier to defend, which I'm sure a lot of you guys already know. So Mini P.E.K.K.A coming in clutch there, wow, like you can tell the hit speed buff, like definitely you can notice it a little bit. We're just going to go, okay, I was going to say like I was just going to go, you know, for giant at the bridge, but that would have been bad because he just played 3M, so I'm glad I didn't do that. I'm hoping, okay, let's see what he does actually. I might have to kind of just Mini P.E.K.K.A the Musketeer and ignore some of the Royal Hog damage, because he already dealt some damage in the left lane, so I could care less if he deals a little bit in the right. We'll go Skeletons here. So the key of this deck is protecting the Magic Archers. You kind of see what I'm doing, how I'm like playing Giants to tank for it, because you want that to stay alive ideally for as long as possible. That's really unlucky that that Musketeer in the other lane is helping out. I didn't think it would. That's the only reason why I say it's kind of unlucky. I guess we'll just go for a log here on top of this, and we'll ignore the Musketeer on the right, obviously. I'm surprised he didn't split the Hogs. I also think that was a bad bandit. I don't really know why he did that, because that just allows me to get more value out of my Giant. Maybe it's time to go Magic Archer here. Oh, no, the Hunter just got shoved. That's really unlucky. It would have lined up, but either way, Mini P.E.K.K.A is going to connect, and there we go. We are able to get the win. That was a little annoying. Even though we won, there were a couple interactions that didn't really go my way, but didn't matter. In the end, we still won the game. So I guess we'll hop in another one with this deck. Why not? You know, I kind of want to test it out again, because again, I already know Giant Double Prince and Giant Graveyard are going to be really good in the meta now. I'm really curious about this one, though. So we'll go 2 in a row in this deck, and then maybe for my final game, you know, game or two, I'll switch back to Giant Double Prince or Giant Graveyard. All right, here we go. So second game in a row with the Giant Cycle variation, and we'll see, you know, what this guy does. We're going to make the first play, though, because, yeah, it's fast cycle. I'm always fine making the first play with this deck. We can Giant now. That's not really wasting 4 elixir, but I can tell you right now, when you're splitting Skeleton Dragons, it kind of allows your opponent to just ignore it. That's especially something you don't want to do if you're against, like, say, Lava Hound, for example. That would be, like, the worst thing ever, splitting Skeleton Dragons. So this guy's got a Golem. Alright, smart placement on his end, playing it to the left so the Magic Archer doesn't line up with everything. I don't know, I feel like we could defend this. I mean, Mini P.E.K.K.A's kind of coming in clutch here against these Golemites, not gonna lie, it's doing work. I have Zap ready in case he has a Skarmy. He could be using... Okay, he's using Prince, the newly buffed Prince, as you guys know. Again, like, against my type of deck, this one I'm using right now, I feel like the Prince isn't going to do very much in terms of, like, value it gets for jumping over the bridge. I just don't see what the heck it would do, you know, against a deck like mine. And this deck has Skeletons, too, which are a great distraction for it. So we'll go Giant Mini P.E.K.K.A because he doesn't have his Prince in cycle right now. I'm hovering Log in case he has Skarmy, which is very possible, but it looks like in this case he probably doesn't. He's going to have the Tornado, the Bomber, and the Skeleton Drags. Good defense on his end, though. He's going to mitigate most of the damage, with the exception of, like, a couple Giant hits. That's very aggressive. I don't know how I feel about that Prince on his end. You can see it kind of jumped a little bit there, maybe to make it, like, a little scarier for me to defend because I had to react quicker, but overall, not bad at all. I mean, easy defense, and now I can just go Giant because he doesn't have his Prince in rotation, and he also doesn't have his Tornado in cycle, so I can go Bats here too, which is going to be really, really nice, and that is going to probably be tower down. So now we just have to focus on defending, or he might just give up. Okay, we're going to go for the 3 crown because he just used 8 of his 10 elixir. I don't know how in the world he's going to defend this because Miner's coming in, zap this, Miner's going to take out the Bomber there, which is his main source of DPS right now in defense. And yeah, look at all that damage we get. That is going to be GG. Nice and easy 3 crown against a Golem deck. I didn't expect to win that easily, but I think he played a little too aggressively with that Prince there, and yeah, so this deck looking a little better. I can't say for sure if it's going to be back. I mean, that was just 2 games with it to test it, but yeah, I'd say let's go back to Giant Double Prince and see if we can get some value out of the Princes jumping over the river. So yeah, maybe I don't know, maybe this will be the last game here. That game was pretty quick, so maybe I'll play 6 games this video. We could do 2 games with every deck, so maybe I'll do 1 more with Giant Graveyard after. We'll see, but there'll be plenty of time to test it in the future. I was just super excited to try to get, record a video shortly after these came out, and, because I know a lot of you guys know me back in the day for playing Giant, so I was excited to, do the top 3 Giant decks. So, Giant Double Prince, a little different than Giant Cycle. I'm fine waiting a little bit. There's, like, no rush to, cycle a Giant or, like, a Dark Prince. And now we get some counter push, right? He just spent 5 Elixir, so I'm going to go for my own 5 Elixir aggressively, knowing I have the Dark Prince supporting it. He's going to, completely mess up that defense there. Not sure what that was, but he kind of did a bad delivery and also a bad, cannon because it didn't pull the Giant, so that might already be GG. I mean, it's not over yet, but that's not the start he was looking for, to say the least. So he probably has Archer Queen. It's a deck I actually recently made a video on. It's still probably pretty good, even though the Royal Hogs got a small damage nerf. I'd imagine, it would be viable at the very least, but it's going to be a little worse. I mean, Queen, slightly worse too, but it's still going to be solid, I'm pretty sure. So he's just going to go Queen on defense there and probably distract this Prince, maybe with Royal Hogs or something. I don't know what he's going to do. Oh, wow, he spent a lot there, and now he doesn't have the Queen available for... Okay, I feel like he just kind of messed up a little bit. I'm going to ignore the Hogs entirely because I feel like he's pretty low on Elixir, and I don't think he can defend this. We'll see. If he ends up defending this, then I'm going to regret ignoring the Hogs. The defense of the deck he's using is just so broken. Okay, he defended that. He went Royal Hogs and still defended. That is, yeah. So definitely not a good matchup. This is why, and I'm not just complaining because I'm losing. This is actually the truth. This is why 2.6 has such a fat counter against Giant decks, especially Giant Double Prince, because the cannon alone can fully counter a Giant. And then you have the skeletons to distract. It's such a good, like, defense for Giant decks. It's, like, really frustrating to play against when you're using Giant Double Prince. 2.6 especially. At least Royal Hogs you have Fireball and Dark Prince for, but 2.6 is, like, the biggest, fat counter to Giant Double Prince in the game. All Giant Double Prince players hate the matchup. And, yeah, you're kind of seeing it right now. Kind of... similar, like, structure to 2.6, just so easy to stop the pushes, stacking the cannons, and then the Queen on the back end that can't die to the Fireball and the Zap, so pretty rough matchup. I guess, though, he played it okay, despite the bad start he had. He did play pretty badly at the beginning, but he kind of adjusted himself and did what he needed to win the matchup that, is pretty good for him, but all good. We'll end with just one more game. We'll just play one more with this Giant Graveyard deck, see how it goes, and yeah, go from there. So yeah, I mean, Giant Graveyard out of all of them, best Giant deck in the meta, even better than Double Prince. So yeah, I imagine we'll be seeing a lot of it now that the hit points of the Giant got buffed, which is why Giant Graveyard is good, because it tanks for it for such a long time. So we're going to go Graveyard here to try to help take out the Elixir Collector, and then I'm going to Snowball or Arrow, something else he drops. We could probably go for our Snowball here. That's probably our best bet, and that'll, like, slow down everything. And you see we dealt a little bit of damage to the Elixir Collector and forced a ton of Elixir out of him, so I would say that definitely was worth it. Kind of was unfortunate I didn't have a Giant in cycle, at least I'm pretty sure I didn't, because if I did, I would have just gone for probably a Giant Graveyard instead of just doing that, but I guess I'm going to Arrow that. I feel like I kind of have to. That really sucks. This is why I don't want the Elixir Collector to get a buff, because it's really annoying if you don't have a good card to counter it. So he's going to do the same thing again. I like just play it in the corner instead of the middle, which is really interesting. I'm going to go Giant Graveyard. I feel like he should be playing it in the middle in this type of matchup because I don't have a big spell. Maybe he'll do that next time. We'll try to punish his Elixir Collector once again, and yeah, we're gonna do just that. We actually deal some really solid damage to that. Wow, yeah, we almost take it out. That was really good. Definitely worth it, I would say. Oh, sadly it got one more Elixir at the end. I feel like everyone waits, like, patiently, it's like, are they like, is it gonna get another Elixir as it isn't, and in that case it did, sadly. We'll just Snowball here because I don't really think I need the Snowball in this particular matchup. He doesn't have, like, a balloon or anything that I need pushback for. At least I don't think he does. Like, why the heck would he have Balloon in this kind of deck? We'll just cycle arrows here on the Elixir Collector. It'll take at least a couple Elixir away from it. And I don't need to use the arrows on the... because his minions were out of rotation, so I didn't need to, like, save it for that or anything, which is good. I guess I'll just Musketeer here for defense, and then maybe we go for, like, I don't know, a Dark Prince. Okay, so he's got 3 Musketeers. That's really annoying, because I don't have a big spell for that. Dang. Alright, we'll see. So, we do know that he has Barb Barrel, so I'm thinking, like, you know, the Barb Barrel typically... It can't reach the whole Skarmy. You can see how I played it further back, but yeah, he took... Oh my god, you know what I just realized? The 3 Musketeers just were, like, rapid firing on my tower. The old Musketeers, that wouldn't have happened. And I wasn't... I gotta admit, that was my fault. I kind of forgot about that. I wasn't paying attention. But you know what? He might have just gave me an opening here. Did he just mess up? Wait a second. All he had to do was just defend. What was he doing? If he loses, this is like 100% a choke. I feel like he should still be able to win, like, despite that happening, because, like, look, he has the advantage, but that was weird. Wow, I don't know why he didn't just go E-Barbs and defend. That was really, really strange. I'm kind of confused. Anyhow, I guess we'll just go Skarmy here, and then if he goes Barb Barrel, which he just did, we're gonna set up for our Graveyard push. Okay, this is gonna be interesting. We gotta watch out here. This is kind of bad, kind of a base race. But yeah, he's gonna get it. All right, so yeah, that'll be our last game. Kind of unfortunate, like, I didn't have anything for the 3 Musketeers there, no big spell, but yeah, still a good video anyway. I hope I try to do the best I can showcasing these decks. I didn't even have arrows maxed, but wouldn't have probably changed any of the interactions anyway. So yeah, I mean, these are just 3 giant decks I thought would be pretty good after the buffs. I'm excited to test out Sparky, you know, Sparky Rage with the mini P.E.K.K.A. Musketeer. So I'll be probably over the course of this next few days. It'll be the end of the season, so I'm going to try to use what's good, but I'm going to test out, of course, RG Hunter. I'm excited that's probably going to be back because of the Hunter buff. So tons of new, you know, changes going to be happening in the game. You know, really good cards are going to be a little bit worse. Like the Balloon has been so good for a long time. And, you know, the Royal Hogs last few months. So, yeah, going to be less of those. And, yeah, let me know what you guys think of the balances. Make sure to like if you guys did end up enjoying it. Subscribe if you guys aren't subscribed already. And thanks again. Until next time, guys.